Hello, everyone. This is Sam with EV Times. Very excited to have you on today. My guest today is Vic Peltola, and he is with HEVO Energy. They specialize in wireless electric vehicle charging. I'm very excited to talk with him today. It's just a very kind of interesting and unique service that they offer. And so what I'm going to do now is invite EV Times specializes in live interviews with industry professionals in the electric vehicle industry. And on the call now is Vic. Vic, thank you so much for
Thanks,
joining
Sam,
us.
and thanks, EV Times, for having me today.
Yeah, appreciate it. So, you know what? Let's just start right at the beginning. HEVO, tell us, how you started and what prompted HEVO to, kind of fill the gap in
Great.
electric vehicle
HEVO's got a
charging.
great story. HEVO's been working on this technology for over 10 years now. It was started by our founder and current CEO, Jeremy McCool, who came back after a 5-year military career, came out of the U.S. Army as a captain, went to Columbia grad school under the GI Bill. And when he got out, he wanted to spin up a startup that would support decarbonization or electrification of the auto industry. And he started down the road of the concept of wireless charging. He leveraged academia out of New York University on some of the early technology, and he's developed it, and the HEVO team's done a great job of developing it to application ready. And here we are today. And I joined HEVO back about 6 months ago to help with the industrialization and commercialization of this technology. Much like the iPhone 8 was wirelessly enabled, we want to see the same thing happen with the electric vehicle industry.
Awesome. So just to break it down kind of simply for me, because I don't know very much about it, what is HEVO? Is it a charging station? Is it
Sure.
hardware? Like what exactly
It
is it?
consists of a power station that would be wall mounted or pole mounted, that's connected to a mat that is on the ground, that can either be flush mounted like a manhole cover or set on the ground itself. It could even be under the surface of asphalt or cement. And that charging pad then sends a resonant frequency at 85 kilohertz up through a pad that's on the bottom side of the vehicle in front of the two wheels. And that resonant inductive charging then charges the batteries on the vehicle. The technology's been around for a long time. Nikola Tesla invented the concept of inductive charging, and it's a matter of applying it to different technologies. Some of the early technologies that adopted it were things as simple as a toothbrush, an electric toothbrush. If you remember, they used to have contacts on them, and then they went contactless, which was an element of inductive charging. And as I mentioned earlier, cell phones can be wirelessly charged these days, earbuds, et cetera, et cetera. So wireless is the way to go for sure. And HEVO is right at the forefront of providing wireless electric charging capability to the auto industry.
Mm-hmm. I like that analogy a lot. It's something we're used to already with iPhones. We just place it on a pad and it just charges for us instantly.
Little testimonial on that. My wife purchased a charging station for her iPhone, her Apple Watch, and her earbuds, and she sets it on that every night. And when she wakes up in the morning, all three of those devices are fully charged. And with today's battery capacity technology, she gets a full day's usage out of any of those devices and puts it back on. So think of this in this, relative to range anxiety. I don't know, 10 years ago, you had your cell phone and you were constantly concerned, am I going to have enough power to get through the day? Well, battery technologies, much like in automotive, have advanced, and the capacity, storage capacities, greatly improved. And you get throughout a whole day these days without having to charge a cell phone. It's the same application for eliminating range anxieties on vehicles. If your vehicle is constantly being charged overnight in your driveway, in a parking structure, in your garage, out on the street, if that's always being charged up and topped off, you're going to eliminate that range anxiety for 99% of the time. Then you can focus on high-speed charging, fast charging, out on the open road as on a long, 300 plus mile trip, where you're going to need to plan out high-powered fast charging out on the network.
Sure, yeah. So it's kind of like you're constantly charging the battery a little bit at a time throughout the day to keep it going. Yeah, I think people's mentality has to kind of get into that, how a battery works in
You
an
know,
EV.
the
Yeah,
drive time
definitely.
on
Makes
a
a lot of sense.
vehicle statistically is, on a 24-hour day, you're only driving a vehicle maybe 3 to 4 hours per day. There's a lot of idle time. We call that dwell time. And the dwell time is spent maybe in a office parking lot or an office garage, or it's overnight in your driveway or in your garage. And that dwell time is more than ample time to charge with what's referred to as level 2 charging versus fast charging. Now, keep in mind that level 2 charging, wireless, the cost to install that is substantially less than high speed, fast, high powered charging. High powered charging could be a 10 times factor. To put fast charging in your home is you'd have to have one of those green transformer box on your front lawn, right? That's not going to happen. In parking garages, the same thing. Level 2 charging is a sweet spot relative to dwell time available, as well as the cost to install it, as well as the cost of the wireless charging itself. McKinsey just put out a report that said there's going to be 29 million charging functions in the United States by 2030. And of those 29 million, 90+% are going to be level 2 charges. So level 2 really is a sweet spot relative to charging, because again, that dwell time. There's going to be special circumstances on freeways where you need to pull over and get a fast charge, and that charge is extremely expensive. The other thing is the cost per unit of electricity in those fast charging situations can be 5 times more than level 2 charging at your home or office or other retail destinations. If you pull into a Starbucks and you're sitting there working on your laptop and having a coffee for an hour, and you could pick up a charge there at a very reasonable rate with wireless charging. And again, when you got a coffee in your hand and a briefcase in your other hand, you're not having to mess around with furling and unfurling a cord and plugging it in. It's so easy. Just pull over it, get out, put it in park, get out, and it begins charging. So great application of technology, just making life easier, not only for those situations where you've got a coffee in one hand and a briefcase in another, but think about disabled drivers. They might have a cane, they might have a walker, they might be in a wheelchair, they might have limited dexterity capabilities. And for them to get out of a vehicle and walk to the front of the vehicle and maybe have to step over a parking block or a curb to access a cord and a plug, and then following that all the way around the vehicle and finding the port. And again, the port, there's no standardization for port location. It can be in any 4 corners of the vehicle or in the front of the vehicle. So disabled drivers, this is a great application to make disabled drivers more comfortable and confident that they can charge their vehicles without having to again, furl and unfurl and plug-in cords. Another, if you don't mind, I love the case.
Sure.
My electric vehicle, um, my wife had taken it out and it needed a charge, and it was a rainy day, and the car was all wet. And I asked her, I said, well, did you plug in the vehicle? And she said, no, I'm not touching that cord when it's wet out.
Oh,
And she had a very valid case of, never running a hair dryer around a tub or a sink with water in it. And there's a lot of parallel to that hesitancy on charging with a cord. So again, a lot of use cases that make a lot of sense for wireless charging.
that led to my next question very nicely, actually, which was, kind of walk me through as a customer. If I come up to a HEVO charging station, what can I expect? Do I have to use an app to connect with it? Does it automatically
Sure,
charge?
excellent
All
question.
those steps.
We've designed into our system a locating feature, and that locating feature would be visible on the power station. There's an LED readout on the power station, and it could also be integrated into the vehicle instrument cluster or the center stack display, or even on your handheld. Of course, we don't want to have distracted driving where people have to hold a handheld. So integrating that into the vehicle system is going to be ideal. Ideally, it'd be right in the instrument cluster area, where you see the front nose of the vehicle pull over the pad, and you see the location, and it'll go through a red to yellow as you're approaching the ideal location, to green. That's when you put it in park, and the charging sequence can begin. And then, in addition to that, integrated into the LED readout on the power station that would be on a wall or on a post mount. It shows the charging rate. It shows the amount of charge that you have, etc. So that's also integrated into the handheld, so you can keep tabs on what your charging status is at any time.
So you mentioned a handheld. Does that mean that there's
Yes,
an app that's also associated
exactly.
with the station?
Our
Okay.
hardware suite is referred to hardware and software suite. Our ecosystem is the resonant
Mhm.
E8 and E11 charging system that includes the mats and the power station. And then we have what's called a journey software that does everything to inform you of your charging status. You can also use it for route planning, etc. Now, a lot of automakers already have a lot of these details in their own apps, so we would look to integrate those kernels of optimization that we've developed inside of an automaker's app to make it a seamless, white labeled type of ecosystem that we'd be part of. We don't want to create an environment where there's different technologies. In the Society of Automotive Engineers, SAE has done a great job of developing standards for wireless charging, so we don't have a beta and a VHS war out there, or a Qi and a PMA wireless charging. Society of Automotive Engineers are setting the table for success relative to EMI, EMF, electromechanical interference, and discharge, and a lot of concerns that people with pacemakers may have standing around a wireless charging system. All of that's been worked out with the SAE to say these are the emissions that can be radiated within safety standards, as well as the vehicle to grid communication to make sure that the charging sequence is appropriate, and to make sure that there's no concerns of malicious interaction with the vehicle level protocol and communication within the vehicle. You don't want to be able to break into a vehicle and steal personal information, etc. So Society of Automotive Engineers has done a great job of establishing standards for all that. And like I said, they've set the table for success for wireless charging.
Okay. Okay, so it sounds like to me that HEVO's pretty much compatible with a lot of vehicles. Is that
Yes, we're working with
accurate?
automakers
Or
to up integrate our
okay.
technology onto the vehicle. I mentioned that charging mat that needs to go on the underside of the vehicle. There's mechanical,
Mhm.
electrical, and communication protocol electronics that needs to be integrated so that charging pad works effectively with the battery management system, the BMS, on the vehicle and the batteries. That up integration of the hardware and the electrical systems, and then I mentioned that Journey software, that locating device, or that feature, I should say, that was that's part of the Journey software to make it a seamless, safe charging experience. Um, and so, automakers, we're working with automakers on up integrating. We've taken the technology to a level of validation, and now it needs to be up integrated into vehicles. Much like, again, I'll use the iPhone. If you remember, you could buy a jacket with a little round circle on it, and you put it on your phone, and it had a little
Mhm.
funky interconnect, and that gave you wirelessly charging capability, and you had to pay $50 for this jacket and $100 for the pad. And then Apple said, enough's enough. We're going to integrate that technology into the hardware of the phone. So much like that same analogy, automakers are up integrating this wireless charging to make the vehicles wirelessly charging capable.
Well, I really like to
Well,
try one out.
we
So
got
where?
systems operational, deployed and operational in Australia, in Korea, Japan, the UK, and in the United States, in both Brooklyn, New York, as well as in Detroit. And we offer demonstrations for this technology, as well as we go to trade shows and other type of industry events to make sure that there's awareness. That's another key thing, Sam, is creating awareness of this technology, because once EV drivers see this technology, they're going to say, automakers, I want that feature. I don't want to have to plug in. I don't want to have to make a decision of what's called preconditioning. Um, Electric vehicle owners have to, or are recommended to plug in colder temperatures. So you're pulling power off the grid to keep those batteries warm, to keep that cabin warm before you start driving, to have optimal range of those batteries. So, indecisiveness, is it cold enough where I precondition? Oh, by the way, what is preconditioning? My dealer told me I need to plug this in when it gets cold. When is it? What threshold is that, etc. So again, it takes away a lot of that indecisiveness on charging at the end of the day. So working real diligently with automakers to up integrate this technology and get it ready for prime time. We see applications for disabled drivers being a early adopter. We see early adopters in the EV van industry, the delivery van industry, where a FedEx truck or a UPS, DHL, they've got maybe a 1 or 2 shift operation on delivery, on inner city delivery, short routes. They go 60 or 80 miles a day. Then they go back to a depot. They could get charged and load up next for the next morning and be on their way, and they don't have to worry about plugging in or cord management in these fleet depots. So those are 2 real early adopters where there's operational efficiency or a solution like for disabled drivers. And then we see this going into the luxury car market, where the person buying a $100,000 EV, they want a better charging experience. They want kind of white glove type of experience. And then going into mass market, like a lot of automotive technologies have over the years, power windows, power steering, automatic transmissions, airbag technology,
Seatbelts.
and.
Well, Vic, I really learned a lot, and especially the ease of the HEVO charging experience. And so hopefully I'll be able to try that out. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to
No,
mention?
just that awareness in EV times. And Sam, this is going to be a great opportunity to create this awareness in the industry that this is an available technology, and making it better for the driver experience, and eliminating range anxiety, and potentially maybe even creating smaller batteries at the end of the day. If you're always topped off, you might not need
Mm,
that larger battery. You might not need a 300-mile battery. You might only need a 250-mile battery for driving around town, driving to the workplace, picking up kids, grocery store, etc., where you never exceed 250 miles in a given day, other than on a planned longer trip, right? So think about saving 50 pounds of weight in the vehicle, and that, weight begets weight. More weight, more brake sizes, more wheel sizes, etc. For the vehicle. If you can eliminate weight, downsize that battery size, save cost on the vehicle, as well as potentially um, having more battery, right? Supply chain of lithium and cobalt, etc., has its limitations. And if you could take 20% smaller batteries and make one additional vehicle out of 5 or 10, because you've got more battery raw materials available. So it really kind of builds upon itself at the end of the day. So great opportunity to advance electrification in the auto industry.
Well, Vic, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're probably a very busy person, so I appreciate your time to kind of show us and tell us about HEVO Energy. Yeah, so I was very
Yeah,
delighted and glad that you could join me. And I'll look out for HEVO, and hopefully I'll get a chance to
excellent.
try
You're
it out in
always
the future.
welcome, Sam. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the reaching out and bringing me into the EV Time Show. Really appreciate it. All right,
All
take
right,
care.
Vic, we'll
Bye bye.
talk to you soon. Thanks.